Hey, what's up, everybody? Media 44 coming at you in another video. We're here to talk about the NBA Finals Game 1 between the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors. So, basically, Boston Celtics are up to the old tricks again. Marcus Smart, Robert Williams, considered questionable, 100% playing. Do not buy that. They're playing. I mean, come on. They were playing in games when they were severely hurt in the previous series on 1 day's rest. I think they've been resting now for 6 days, something like that. Those guys are playing. Do not buy the cap. That's Ime Udoka up to his same old tricks he's been using all playoffs long. Our guys who may be a little hurt may or may not be available. So that means playing for both. That's double work. Smart strategy. Keep them up at night. So that's how we're starting the series with Ime Udoka doing what he's doing with that questionable status for those two very key defensive players. It's a fill-out game. Honestly, nothing will surprise me. Nothing should really be set in stone. What we will be developing tonight is data, tendency data. That's really all first games for these series is about. Do they hold a lot of weight? Of course, especially if you are able to snatch home court away from the home court team. But all in all, let's say we see a 5-point game or something like that, or a 30-point game or blowout or something, it's not an indicator of anything, I don't believe. Now, if we see two games with the same tendencies, then we start understanding what we got there as trends starting to set form. But as far as the first game is concerned, it's a feel-out game. It's just that. These two teams got to figure out how they want to start the series. They need to figure out who's starting the series hot. Knock on wood. Hopefully there are no setbacks of any injuries within this game that will make it so that they have to adjust accordingly. But if something like that were to occur, that's what Game 1 does. It lets you understand what you're in for the rest of the series. Let's say the Golden State Warriors have a severe advantage on the boards. That right there is something Ime Udoka can start forming his strategy around at that point. Now, right now, all the coaches can do is guess. Look at what they've seen from the previous series and then try to imagine what the matchups will look like in theory. But the problem about that is there are certain things that you cannot account for, like foul trouble and who's going to be hot or cold in this given game. Let's say Grant Williams has it going from behind the arc, and he has another game like he had in Game 6, I believe it was, against the Bucks. He hits like 8 threes. Now you're looking at a situation where Steve Curry will look at that adjustment and maybe gear his attention towards stopping that in Game 2. Now the problem is these type of things are used purposefully by coaches, opposing coaches, to assure that you are doing certain things. For example, if I want you to focus on Grant Williams shooting a three, I'm going to have him shoot 10 threes tonight, right? Now you're going to be looking for him to shoot the three. I ain't going to have him shoot that much again for the rest of the series. These are the type of things that I've seen Ime Udoka do, and I'm pretty certain Steve Kerr is prepared for that because he's been in so many battles where he's won. So I'm super excited, man. I wish to God, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to mean it, I wish to God the Celtics were not the Celtics. If only they could have been the Bulls or the Knicks or the Heat or any team that wasn't the Celtics, because I'm not able to enjoy them the way I would have enjoyed them if I weren't a Laker fan. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out here in Laker Nation who feels that way. That is a good team that is easy to like. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, those are likable guys, man. Grant Williams, I'm a fan of all of those guys. And I will not enjoy the bitterness of having to religiously root against that bunch because they are worthy of being here, and I've seen them be one of the better turnaround teams that I've seen in recent memory. This is a good group, good coaching, guys that are tough as heck, and I think the Golden State Warriors have their work cut out for them in a Game 1 on their home floor. Now, this is the thing. The Golden State Warriors have not lost a game at home in these playoffs as of yet. Now, I do believe that changes in this series, but I also think the Celtics are going to have a good home series, and I still have the Warriors winning the series. So something has to give in my way of looking at this thing. But all in all, I just feel like both teams will have a whole lot of success in their home floor. So my guess is that each team will win one game on the road before Game 7. I haven't done the math, but I don't think it's going to be too much winning on the road. And if for some reason Boston gets out to a lead, like let's say they win the first 2 games, this thing is in trouble. The Golden State Warriors must protect home court. I don't think they can win it's going to be very hard for them to win this series if they drop this game. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's not. I feel a lot better about the Golden State Warriors having a lead in this series than the Boston Celtics. With that being said, because the Boston Celtics don't have the home court advantage or the experience. But if Boston starts snatching games early in the series, that is basically an indicator they're going to win the championship in my mind. So it's imperative that the Golden State Warriors take care of home court and remain in front of that home court advantage, because Boston and that home court in green, they're going to be rocking, and it's not going to be easy to score there. Even for the Golden State Warriors, I believe it's going to be tough to score on that defense in that building. So, it is what it is. Now, as far as the Boston Celtics, they got a score, man. I can't stress this enough. Do we believe the Boston Celtics can score? Of course, we've seen games where they've scored 120, 128 points. But there's also been games where they've only scored 89, 90 points in these playoffs against teams that, if only they shot a little better against that defense that they were going against, really couldn't see them throughout the rest of that particular series. But just because of the way the Boston Celtics tend to attack, running cold, it can be a problem. So that's what I'm looking for. The scoring drought to the Boston Celtics or something that just, I think, could really, really ultimately be the story if they're not able to overcome them. But again, when we're talking about just this specific game, when you're talking about just a game one, you really don't know what at all you're going to see. You can just predict. Jordan Poole, I've been waiting for him to have a big game in these playoffs. I don't know how he will be used. That's another thing. Once we have those tendencies in place, we'll know how coaches may want to use these players as the playoffs begin, as the finals continue. But, all in all, I'm looking at him to have a good game at home. Jordan Poole, I'd expect he would play better at home than on the road. It's a home game. He's kind of been laying dormant, so to speak, in terms of their offense. They've been allowing Clay to shoot more shots, get himself in rhythm. And I think that, that'll probably continue. But at some point in time, Jordan Poole's going to break out. So I'm looking for that somewhere in these playoffs, and it may be in a game one. Steph Curry, this is the thing. A lot has been said about Steph Curry not having the greatest finals record in terms of his individual scoring stats and just his own stuff going on. He'll win in the finals, but he won't be the guy getting the MVP. So that is something I'm looking to see change if the Golden State Warriors win the series. I don't know. I think a lot of people, including myself, have just assumed that the Golden State Warriors are going to find a way to score the basketball. But I do believe that Steph Curry's defensive assignment and the people that are going to be throwing at Steph Curry is going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. And, it's going to be very tough once again for him to be the finals MVP based on the fact that Marcus Smart's going to be hounding him. Jaylen Brown's going to be hounding him. I'm pretty sure they're going to put different looks at him and crowd him out and just try to make things very, very, very difficult for him to, in terms of shooting the ball and having a smooth sailing series. He's going to get beat up. It's going to be physical. And that's something that I think he can use in his favor because he's such a fantastic free throw shooter. Marcus Smart's going to have to be very careful not to foul him unnecessarily, or whoever's guarding him, anybody who's guarding him. Here's the thing that I'm curious about. So the Boston Celtics are a fantastic defensive team, best defensive team in the league, and I think their interior defense is amazing. So they should have some success with Robert Williams, Grant Williams, Daniel Tyson, of course Al Horford, Jason Tatum, all those guys. They got a lot of defense, to offset the offense coming out. What I'm looking to see is whether or not they're going to be able to, the Boston Celtics will be able to have a good defensive scheme against Steph Curry, particularly when Marcus Smart isn't on the floor. And if I'm Steve Kerr, I'm looking to attack with Steph Curry when Marcus ain't on the floor, if at all possible. Now, Marcus is going to play a lot of minutes. I'm pretty sure he's going to play upwards of 48 minutes in most of these games to keep something like that from happening. But if for some reason he gets in early foul trouble, I do not like the Boston Celtics in games like that. They are going to need Marcus Smart to be on the floor a good majority of the time to just hound the hell out of Steph Curry and keep him from getting those easy three-point looks that he gets off, particularly in transition when he has the ball in his hands off the rim, which is something I've talked a lot about when he's rebounding the ball himself and pushing the pace and creating for himself and teammates. I believe Steph Curry's at his best. I believe he's at his absolute best. His passing ability and his playmaking is not something that really gets talked about because they have so many different secondary playmakers all around him. But I would love to see him mix it up quite a bit in this series, especially against a defense like this. Staying unpredictable as humanly possible for a guy like Steph Curry will give him the most space he needs to operate. So if I'm him, I'm looking to rebound and assist a bit more. And I think, in fact, I know that will contribute greatly to him getting the MVP of this series if he ups his assists and rebounding totals. So I think he should try to low-key do that. Not only for that, but just as I said, just to keep himself as unpredictable as possible. Klay Thompson is dangerous as hell in this series, as you guys know, but he's more dangerous because he's been struggling. And I said that yesterday, and I mean that. Klay Thompson struggling to me means that I don't know how to defend him. I don't know if I'm supposed to crowd him like normal, because if I do, then obviously he's cold, he's not hitting shots. Why am I crowding him out, using my best defense against him, leaving Jordan Poole and all these other guys, Steph Curry, open? However, the moment you think Klay Thompson is too cold to defend, that's when he's going to be lethal enough to end the game right away. That's the type of thing that I know. He's one of those rare players where I honestly think he's just as dangerous when he's 1 for 10 as he is when he's 10 for 10. Because all he needs to see is the number 2 shot go, and he can hit the next 8 in a row. It's like that. It's just, that's his talent, man. And he lets it go so fast. Defenses can't contest it. It doesn't matter if you got your hand in his face, none of that. He's going to relocate and do all that stuff that he does. He's a Hall of Famer. And I just look at him and say, if he finds his mojo, Boston can play the best defense they want. It can be 90-91, and he hit the 3 to win the game. That's how that goes. So I'm very, very worried about Boston's strategy against Klay Thompson when it appears he's struggling. Because what we've seen from Klay Thompson is him starting the games off cold and then ending the games hot consistently. He'll go for 1 for 8 in the first half and then do what I said, 8 for 8 in the second, or hit 2 big threes that spread out the lead or something. Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Jordan Poole, all these guys are very, very, very important to the offense. But Klay Thompson's the guy where I cannot sleep at night because I don't know if he's going to just snap out of that and turn a 5-point deficit into a 10-point lead by himself. So that is a very serious concern for the Boston Celtics. You got to play that by ear. And it's also something that I'm looking at in regards to Steve Kerr because it's worked thus far. Now, I've criticized it because I said, look, that should be Jordan Poole taking those shots. As long as Klay Thompson's cold, I feel like Jordan Poole could hit every one of them shots he's missing, right? I just believe that. But as long as you keep him confident, you have that trump card in your back pocket to pull out and say, yo, y'all playing great defense, but this guy's about to hit 3 threes, and so you better score 2. And that's when I look at the Boston Celtics and say, maybe they get the bucket, maybe they don't. That's a problem. So, yeah, that is a problem. As long as Klay is cold throughout the entire game or just not himself, making certain types of mistakes that we saw him make earlier in these playoffs. He had a game earlier before the season ended where he messed up in the clutch. He turned the ball over and stepped out of bounds or some weird stuff like that. I don't expect stuff like that to happen in these finals at all. I expect Klay Thompson to have shaken that off and to realize who he is in these finals. You are that dude, and just let it fly like you always have and go get you another ring. That's what I say. I'm a believer in Klay Thompson, even though, like I said, I've seen him struggle and I felt like he should be benched, but not traded. Just sat on the bench, just like they did Steph Curry before the season ended, and let JP have a little more minutes than usual. However, not in the finals. Not in the finals. Absolutely not. I'm rolling with Klay. I'm in the finals. So, that's what I have to say about that particular thing. Obviously, you're talking about Kevon Looney. I've talked greatly about his play. I think the best thing for the Boston Celtics is to try to hit a good percentage of 3-point shots over him to try to make Steve Kerr think twice about having him on the floor. If you could somehow effectively remove him from the series, it'll help a great deal for the Boston Celtics, especially on the inside, where their guys have already been through a lot of battles. Having to go up against Kevon Looney's fresh legs and Draymond Green and his brilliance, that's a lot for even guys like, Daniel Tyson, Al Horford, and Robert Williams. It's a lot for them to deal with. So I think the edge for the bigs is probably with Golden State, probably, but it's not a big edge, but it probably is there. Kuminga is gonna have to play well. That defense is gonna hound him. I got a feeling he's gonna have some jittery moments in this series based on what I've seen already. I don't know that he's quite ready like that just yet, but I do think there will be opportunities for him to get some buckets in the series. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking, man. Robert Williams, Time Lord's health, man. As we said, he's questionable. I know he's gonna play. It's not about whether or not he's gonna play. It's that he's been playing so much basketball hurt. His body hasn't allowed him to really recover like you need him to. Hopefully these last 6 days will have helped with that, and he will be himself. But with him being questionable tonight, it does leave that room for questioning there. So if his health isn't where it needs to be, and he's not able to offset what Draymond and Kevon do, if you're relying on only Al Horford in this series, unfortunately, that's not going to be enough. And Al Horford is phenomenal, and he can have some huge games in this series, maybe even win a game or two in this series by himself. I kid you not, he's that great to me. But Draymond's going to have a lot to say about that. This is not going to be a series like that for him, I don't think. The battle's going to be great, but he ain't going to be going crazy. He's not. I don't think that, because he's already a bit tired, and he's going to be dealing with Dre. And Dre's going to do what he do. So that's what it is, man. I'm excited. I'm excited about the NBA Finals. I'm not gonna lie. My Lakers are not a part of it. The Celtics are in it, and I'm miserable about that as a Laker fan. But in terms of just the matchups, you take these jerseys off these guys and just leave them as the men 12 on 12 going against each other and coaches. This is one of the best matchups of our lifetime, honestly, in my opinion. One of the best I've ever seen. Especially given the fact that we've had so many of the same so often in my lifetime. We've seen a lot of the same. And while Golden State is here again, we know this is a very different Golden State team, having been far removed from their last win in the finals. So I don't feel Warrior fatigue. They're going against the Celtics. I'm definitely rooting for them. So that's just what it is for me. But all in all, tonight's game, if I'm going to be a predictor of anything, I'm just going to say the Warriors get the game once. They haven't won it. Haven't lost a game at home. I do believe they'll probably lose one game at home. It'll probably be game 2, not tonight, if that were to be the case, though. So that's what I'm going to predict. I'm going to say Golden State gets the first game at home. That Warrior crowd is going to be behind them. The first NBA Finals game in San Francisco in probably over 50 years. So that is a massive deal. Congratulations to their fan base. And I'm thinking about the city of Oakland as well. I know y'all celebrating. Ain't no Golden State without y'all. So, yeah, that's what I want to say, man. Congratulations to both teams. I'm excited for the guys that haven't been here before. I listened to Jason Tatum talk about he's seeing the finals emblem behind him and realizing he's actually there. That's a big deal, man. Because guys don't be getting back. Guys do not be getting back. So I just encourage everybody to enjoy the finals, especially the players, man. Especially the players. So that's what I got. My name is BDL44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.